Yeah, let's go.
Hey guys, this is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be helping one of our members find their personality type, Nicole.
Yeah,
Nicole, you
that's
don't have
it.
to go
Hi.
into any like traumas or anything like that. But what you say, I will try to use to triangulate down on your best fit type, and you're
Great.
free to do that whatever you feel is necessary. Can you introduce yourself?
So my name is Nicole. I live in Sofia in Bulgaria. I am from the US. I'm from California, but I haven't lived in the States for about 15 years. So it's been a long time.
Mhm. So, what got you into typology or um, psychology in general?
Well, I have a degree in psychology. I have a master's in clinical mental health. And now I'm going into the neuroscience direction. I want to work with patients with traumatic brain injury. But I read a lot of Jung when I was pretty young, when I was like a teenager, and I haven't really revisited it for a long time. So I'm hearing like the discussions kind of around it, and I'm understanding that it's being kind of assessed in a completely different way than when I originally was sort of reading about it. Like I think I read when I was 18 or 17, please understand me, and that was pretty much all I had in my head. And now people are talking about the cognitive functions in a very different way, and I'm just kind of like I'm not having the time to really dive into it. I'm just kind of hearing it online and like kind of understanding whether I could, yeah, try to dive back into it and understand it better.
Okay. What do you think are the best parts and worst parts of the whole thing?
Well, the best part, like what I want out of it, is kind of what Jung was originally intending when he made something like types, which is like you're looking at people and you want to have like a pretty good heuristic in your head, like a pretty good model of a stereotype that you can use quickly, like to not to like pigeonhole anybody, but just to like know how to approach them, like know how to communicate with them, how to be like ideally gentle with the things that are going on with them. Yeah.
What about the worst things?
I think the worst thing is like, well, it's with stereotypes, right, in general, which is that you just kind of say that somebody is this, and then like maybe they can't get out of it in your head, or you're limiting them, or they're limiting themselves. That's never a good thing.
Mhm. Okay. What got you to want to like learn, like go into like psychology and stuff like that in general? Just curious.
Well, I was just I felt very different from the rest of my family. Like if I look at it in terms of like functioning, like you guys might, my mother is probably very SI, like she likes to do the same thing and she's very routine and she's very like strict in her thinking.
Hmm.
And my father is probably some kind of like STP, like he's like outside and like wanting to like not talk a lot and just be out in nature. And I was kind of like a freak, like I was reading a ton and yeah, my dad kind of just looked at me like I was like a little psycho. Like why do you want to read for 5 hours a day? Like that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Come watch the TV. Like I think when this movie Matilda came out in the 90s, he started calling me Matilda because like our relationship was very similar to this film. Like
Oh
I
wow.
was reading and trying to get him to understand things, and he was like, just watch TV like a normal child. Like, what's wrong with you? So I had something like this going on. And my sister is like a very, very, I think probably she's FE dominant. Like she's super outgoing and popular and just kind.
Hmm.
And I was always kind of jealous of her like ability to socialize and to just be like naturally cool. I was not a cool child at all. So yeah.
But that how'd that lead to psychology?
Well, when I was like 17, I took an AP Psych class. I'm not sure exactly why I loved it so much, but I was also acting. I was an actress when I was young, and I was doing like a lot of competitions, like monologues, and like I was just really into acting. And that kind of faded after I finished high school. I was thinking like this isn't probably a career path that I would like to go down for multiple reasons. My family was very religious, and they were quite worried, that if I wanted to do that like as a job, I would have to compromise a lot of things. And I ended up agreeing with them kind of on that. So I didn't end up pursuing that. And I yeah, ended up going into psych as an undergrad. I also studied philosophy in undergrad, so I double majored.
Oh.
I was always very much, I was reading like everything that, yeah, it's just like there's a picture in my house, I think, of me and my father on like a boat, and he has like Dilbert comics, and I have the origin of consciousness and the breakdown of the bicameral mind, like some really long, like existential title, and then he just kind of looks at it like, it's crazy. But yeah, I was interested since I was young in neuroscience, especially. Like I read V.S. Ramachandran. I don't know if you know him. Phantoms in the Brain was like a really big one for me. Kind of had a lot of brain explosions going on with that book. So
yeah, that's cool. Have you read any of Dario's work or anything like that?
I'm aware of him. I watched a couple of things on YouTube when he was first saying, what he was doing, and I heard him speak, and he seems like somebody that would be really interesting to talk to. Like, but I'm looking at the actual experiments, and I'm thinking like this has a ways to go before I kind of take it completely on board. Just because it's such a small subset of people so far, and I think he's like the first one that would agree to this as well. That it needs like a lot of extra things going on before we can really take it as something we can take on board. But yeah, it's interesting.
Okay. What do you want to be remembered for?
That's really tough for me. Like I had this kind of quote come into my brain immediately, which is like not all people are remembered, but some voices are, I don't think I would want to be remembered like as a person, like for my particular, like look or way of doing things or, something idiosyncratic. But I would want to be like a voice in somebody's head, like that they read something and it like helps them or maybe like a really great footnote in a really nice textbook. Like that would be great too. Something like that.
Okay. What's something that stresses you out?
Um, this a little. uh, I think I really enjoy like unstructured talk with people to kind of get at an idea or a theory or what's going on in a certain discipline. Like I really want to know a lot of information. And I'm quite talkative, I think, in these things as well. But yeah, I always feel like an idiot if it's unstructured. Like I'm never able to fully prepare for it. Like I can't look at questions and memorize them in order and try to think about what my answer would be. It just isn't possible for me. So whatever comes out comes out. I think it really stresses me out sometimes. My partner, he's a film producer, and he'll talk to some like really important people, and he'll be on the phone with somebody, and he'll just think to like give me the phone and be like charming with the people, like here, like say hello, like to this guy, and wherever whatever countries he's in, and talk to him a little bit. And I can do it, but I don't feel good at all. I also really hate having my picture taken. No, it's just like a no for me.
Yeah, me too. I really hate having my picture taken. It's so fucking obnoxious. Oh my god. I fucking hate that shit. Like that's the reason I don't take as many pictures and shit. I mean, when I first started like the channel, one of the guys like, you have to put pictures up. I'm like, fuck. I fucking hate pictures. I hate
Yeah.
cameras. I hate all that shit. But fucking you have to. What do you think is something that holds you back?
Like it's really horrible. Like I feel like a real bitch if I say it out loud, but it's like people is like the first thing that comes into my head because
Beebe.
well the thing is like I feel like I'm trying to be like maybe too many personalities at the same time sometimes. Like this is part of the reason I want to do this is because I want to see like what my home one is, so I do it more, so I'm more relaxed. But like I want to be doing like pretty hard science during the day. And I find that I have like the most energy to do the harder mental work in the morning and at other points like early in the day. And so I wake up at like 5 a.m. and I'm doing this for like a few hours. And then it's like, then the people can come into my life after that, And usually, like, it's really hard for me to decide if I'm kind of a thinker or a feeler or whatever, because I will want to be naturally like going back to the books, going back to the thing that I'm learning. But like if a person is around me that's having like a difficult time, like I can't, like they hijack me. Like I'm just like, all right, I'll sit and cry with you for the next hour, and it just kind of happens. Like I worked in humanitarian aid for 10 years. And I was often working with refugee populations. Like I work sometimes with Ukrainians here in Bulgaria. And like if any of these the girls that I'm working with right now have an issue, like I just completely stop my life and I'm just like beholden to them until we can, sit and figure it out. And then I can go back to what I'm working on. So
So you don't really like people to interrupt you when you started something?
yeah, like I can't really study very well with people in my periphery. And it's like I really love people, so I feel really bad about it. Like people want to interrupt me and they know I care about them, I hope. But then I'm always like a little bit low level annoyed and I'm trying to crush that like as it's happening. and show that I'm still caring and, you know, like that I just want to finish this, whatever I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think are like your best skills? Like if you had to rate like your top 2 skills that like attributed to your
Like that
success,
skills that like an employer would like, or like skills, like life skills.
just in general, like what do you think is like something that if you had to pick something that you were like, okay, these are my top skills, what would
I
you
would
say?
say I have like the only kind of superpowery things I know I have are I have a really extraordinary sense of time. Like sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be like, it's 4:12, you know, and it'll be like 4:15 or something, you know, but sometimes 4:12. And
Mm-hmm.
like it's like something in my brain knows exactly what time it is all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And especially like when I'm doing something with people, I find that I'm super accurate. If they say we're going to do this and then do this, I'm like, no, you don't have time to do that. Like you think you do, but you don't. Like the amount of time an activity takes, I just know. And I'm like, no, don't do that. And I'm always on time for everything, or early, or slightly early, not very early, but like really accurate at that. And I think I use my time very well as well. Like I'm not trying to, but like I find a lot of people they take the first like 20% of the time that they're going to do something and they talk about how they're going to do that thing. And
Mm-hmm.
that drives me crazy. I'm just like, just do the thing. Like, I'm just going to straight do the thing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to like sit there and think about how to do it and then do it. Like, yeah.
Okay.
So that's one. You said two. What else
Mm-hmm.
am I good at? I think I'm fairly good at assessing what's going on with people. I don't think I'm good at assessing what's going on in general, but like sometimes when I was working with in humanitarian aid, I had this job sometimes where we have like a crisis center and a lot of people are pouring in from the border or from a boat or, you know, from whatever. And I have like maybe 50 to 100 people in the room and they're asking me essentially to do something like a mental status examination on all of those people at the same time. Like they're saying like, who do you think is doing the worst? And we'll get them, you know, some immediate help and be really quick about it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so I have this kind of time pressure sometimes. And they're kind of high stakes things. And yeah, I feel like I'm more accurate at that than a lot of people, yeah, would feel in that situation that I'm able to do it. So maybe that's yeah, something I'm good at is noticing quickly what's wrong. I don't know how to say that, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's 3 things that you people would say about you?
I actually asked people that this is the one question I was I saw it on one video and I was like, he's gonna ask this, so I'll ask other people.
Fuck. I
And
get the
I asked like a panel of people, like of my close people. I'm like, what would you say about me? And all of them at the same time were like, brave. Like that was like
brave.
the first one, brave.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's pretty true. Like if something is going on, I'll probably throw myself in and try to fix it. Um, the second one was boring, which was great. Like brave but boring. That's perfect. Uh, and that's true. Because I'm and then the last one was really like a weird one because some people said chill and some people said focused. And I was like, what am I? Like those are two opposite things. Am I super focused or super chill? And they're like, yeah. Um, so whatever that means, I don't really know. But yeah, I think I do come off to people as gentle most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're really kind of freaked out about some of the things that I've done because I've worked in crisis counseling and crisis situations. And
Dude.
I'm pretty like I'm trained in MMA as well. I think I was gonna tell you about that because I know you fight,
Trained in
right?
MMA. Oh, I was a wrestler. Yeah, I used to wrestle.
Okay.
We did that. I don't do that anymore. But it was fun. It was a fun life. It's so much running. God damn. You got to stay in so much good shape. And there's nothing like that type of shape because you got to compete for 6 whole minutes sometimes, a lot of times.
Yeah.
But how'd you get in MMA?
Well, I was when I first got out of university, I was working in a lockdown facility. So you kind of have to learn some stuff. I learned at that point it was like judo, you know, it's just like trying to put the kids in holds in ways that wouldn't hurt them. And then over time, I started working in a refugee camp between Thailand and Myanmar for some years. Uh, and I I really loved Muay Thai. So I was kind of letting some of the refugees teach me, and that was really fun. Like they would take me like I love motorcycles. We'd motorcycle together. We'd go like spear fishing together, and we'd fight together, like spar. And and I loved it. And when I moved to Bulgaria, my partner now is an MMA instructor. So he was like, "Oh, you have this kind of background. Let's like have some fun with it." And we played with the idea of like making a home for people who are dealing with domestic violence in Sofia. We haven't done this yet, but we're kind of figuring out if we could. So
Mm-hmm. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
but I really like wrestling, but I'm like this is tough territory for me. Like because I fight with all guys. There's no girls in the group, so I'm always kind of like just thinking don't die, but yeah.
Oh no.
Don't get injured, really.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see here. Um, hmm, how do you go about learning something new?
I learning something new. Like I probably pick a topic, like a theme, and then I have like 4 or 5 books that I can read about it that are like similar theme but different kind of perspectives on the same theme. And then I just kind of try to see, what they're all talking about and what might be, not as agreed upon, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I, I usually try to do something interactive as well. Like when I was trying to learn neuroanatomy, I was playing a lot of games like clicking the pictures and trying to see if I remembered stuff, drilling a lot of memorization stuff. It really depends on the kind of content, because if it's got a lot of memorization involved, like language or something like scientific, then you have to do a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, yeah. The brain is, oh my God, it's so many like different lobes and stuff like that, and prefrontal and temporal and parietal, and then like you start breaking it down. It's like they even get even more. It's like shit. It's so many. Like when they start like I mean, just like the normal one, like the hemispheres and stuff like that, and it gets more and then more, and then this area does this and this area does that. Then it's like then you forget about it. You don't do it for a little bit, and it's like it's gone. It's all gone, and you have to
Yeah.
read up on it again, and you're like memorizing it again, and then like you get it again, and then you stop, and it's gone again. It's like shit. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and that's how languages are too. Like I study languages as well. I speak 4, and it's just like if you don't use them, then they're
Yeah, it's
yeah.
gone. Um, hmm. How do you know if something is true or false?
That's really tough. Like I was again looking at the metrics and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say to this because like I took philosophy, I understand deductive logic, I understand inductive logic, and I'm pretty confident that I know how to do those things. So like if somebody gives me like 2 pieces of paper and like they're 2 different arguments, they have the same conclusion, then it's like, then I'd be like looking at one level of what's true and not the other. Like there's many things going on. Like something can be untrue on the level of like perception, like
Mm-hmm.
something did happen, but you saw it didn't happen, or vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. And something can be untrue on the level of like, the method that you're getting at the truth with, like scientific, like faulty method. And then you can have, something go wrong in the interpretation, which is like, like taking whatever meaning from the thing that you think, is true.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I definitely believe that there's truth and I try to get at the truth, but it can go wrong in a lot of places. So I'm not really sure where I go wrong the most or where I go right the most. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, nowadays, people like they'll frame like an abstract or something, and people will just take the abstract and run with it without reading like the trials or things like that, or how they selected it, or if it was placebo, double placebo, stuff like that.
Mhm.
A lot of times, and they'll think like something works and it fucking doesn't, or it's like non-reproducible. So it's
Yeah.
always kind of interesting.
The
I mean,
strangest one is when I really respect somebody, like there are certain experts that I really respect. Like I'll be listening to like Andrew Huberman or something. I really like him. I
mm-hmm,
think he's a good guy. I think he does science pretty well.
mm-hmm,
And like I was listening to a podcast where he's talking about a study and he says, well, this is the protocol, you can follow this and you can have a good result.
mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking like, oh, that doesn't mean what you think it means. Like so like the interpretation is different. Like, it's really interesting. Like he was saying, if you have a trauma, you can write about it like on 4 different occasions and it will come out more and more like a story as you do it. And then he was taking that as proof that it's quite, that you're telling the truth, that you're practicing truth telling if you do that.
Mm-hmm,
And I'm like, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying something like, if you write something more and more, yes, it's going to become more structured, but that
mm-hmm,
doesn't mean that it's closer to what the reality of the thing was,
mm-hmm,
and I think actually it's the opposite, because if you think about it, like if you think about consciousness and you tell somebody to like remember when they were boxing or remember when they were swimming, they'll usually see something like they'll see themselves from like a helicopter view, like doing the
mm-hmm.
thing. And that's not a memory, like that's a movie.
I,
Um,
I mean,
So
just
it's already, do you want to say it's not true or not? I don't know. It's
I'm
interesting.
just thinking about it myself. Like, there's been a multitude of times where I remember something and I remembered it actually fucking wrong. So,
Right. That's totally, like
like,
you see like reports of witnesses and stuff like this, faulty memories is
faulty
everywhere.
memories happen a lot, especially like the longer something goes away. It's like the faulty memories just like happen. So I like when it comes to memories and shit like that, it's like, oh, okay. Like, I
Right.
mean, I don't know. Like the other day, me and my buddy were talking about something, and I completely remembered it wrong, and I thought I remembered it right. It's like, fuck. Or like, there's been times where like I made up this whole elaborate story of how I met this one girl, and she's like, I didn't meet you that way, and I'm like, yeah, you did. I'm like calling my buddy, and my buddy's like, nah, man, you didn't meet her that way, and I'm like, fuck. I told myself this whole elaborate story. It's like, fuck. Like, Jesus. But
Yeah.
they usually say um SI trickster is what they call it. But
Okay. But it happens to people in general, like
yeah,
people in general remember things wrong.
yeah.
So, like, I had a friend who witnessed something bad happen on the street and she saw a man, and
Mhm.
the person next to her literally saw like a woman, like, and it's like that, it's
Yeah.
a minefield.
Okay. How's your normal day? Like weekend.
A
How's your
weekend. I don't really have a weekend. I work 6 days a week, which is bad,
day?
but I structure it so that I have like 6 or 7 hours of work and not like nine. So I can have like a little bit more time in the morning to study and a little bit more time in the evening to be person. So yeah. But on a typical day, let me think about this. Um, I I get up early. I can't help it. I read a lot in the morning. I I'll sometimes go for a walk uh, sometime in the morning, like block. Uh, I will work online. I work online right now. So I'll work for about 6 or 7 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then it depends. So sometimes now I'm doing 2 or 3 hours of work with the Ukrainian people at this place. It's called Situation Open Doors, but it's like basically like a community center.
Mm-hmm.
So I go there for a few hours and then I'll eat dinner. I cook. I like to cook. I make food at home. And then I read more and sleep. That's pretty much how it is.
Yeah. Um, what do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm really hoping I can kind of transition into this kind of more relaxed job of just making treatment intervention plans for people who have brain injuries. Um, I feel like I'm kind of sneaking through a back door with it a bit, which I'm excited about because I wanted to be a doctor earlier in my life and I chose not to be. I chose to join the Peace Corps instead at one point, and then I started working in humanitarian aid after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted to go backward and I couldn't. Like I can't start being a doctor now. But I found the route and the way. There's a lab here, and they're understaffed here. Like they don't have enough people really to be doing the things they need to do. So I got lucky. But yeah, in the next 5 years, I'm hoping to do that. I hope I can start a family. I would like to. Um, and yeah, everything else just kind of the same.
Awesome, awesome. Hmm. Let's see. What is the thing you struggle with the most?
Struggle with the most. I think myself a bit. I always put a little bit too much pressure for no reason
Mm-hmm.
at all. Uh, I also kind of struggle to get people to understand me at times. Like sometimes I feel a bit cold and I don't feel cold inside. Like I really love people. Like I care about them, but I'm not really expressing it uh, very well, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. Yeah. So like sometimes you can with like providing people things. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of do that in a way. I like to cook for people. Like I'm like here, like it tastes good. Like I like you. But but otherwise it's like really hard for me to figure out how to be kind of more sentimental, even though I really am. Like I'm kind of a crybaby. Like I'll cry if somebody is telling me something sad. Like I like poetry. I cry at movies. Like
Mm-hmm.
inside I'm very sensitive, but like I'm not, I don't feel like I show it very much at all. So
Awesome. Okay. Well, I got your personality. I had it for a while here. So
okay.
you're very like you know what you want. You know how to go about getting it. You talked about like I wanted to be, what is this? I wanted to work with like traumatic, whatever. I forget exactly what he said. I was trying to write down to be quick. You always talked about like outside, like people, like what they were doing. Now people are talking about the functions. Like you always talking about like other people are doing. So that's like SENI type thing. So you're an SENI user. You're direct. So you're specific, concise, and to the point. Very close statements. You're responding, and you're also progression. Okay, so that means you're a chart the course or finisher. You talked about like not liking people to interrupt you because like now you've finally got the energy to start something, you want to finish it, and then if people interrupt you, now you got to start it again. Kind of annoys you. You talk about making detailed plans for people, things like that. Charting the course for them. That's gonna be more of the TEFI type thing. Obviously, you're talking about philosophy, theories, so you're abstract. So with that being said, I have you down as an INTJ. What did you
That's
type
pretty much
yourself?
what I thought would happen. Yeah. Like I thought this about myself, but when I asked people around me, they thought I was concrete, which is interesting. Like maybe I'm just
Well, I mean, if you're talking about theories, generally speaking, you went to school for philosophy. Philosophy generally is an abstract major, generally
yeah.
speaking.
And I
Um,
am really interested still in like the philosophical sort of ramifications of, what we believe in science and what we're going toward, in neuroscience. So I definitely have that still.
yeah, definitely you are abstract. Okay. Um, I think it's pretty easy for me to tell. I kind of knew off rip as soon as you joined the call. It was like she's either INFJ or INTJ, just looking at you. And I just wanted
Okay.
to go through and just make sure you weren't the INFJ. But you're talking about like even like the managing time management with people. You're like, oh, this is like a skill that I'm very good at. It's like I know exactly how long it takes to do something. It's more of a TE perspective, time management.
Okay.
So yeah, and you're systematic. You talked about like how you structure your days, because you work 6 days to where you can have 5 to 6 hours of work and then things like that. So it's very systematic. INFJs are not systematic; they're interests. So they look for the win-win with people and stuff like that. So I got you as the INTJ. I would probably bet your Enneagram is probably 6 or 5,
Okay.
6 or 5. You seem to be.
Yeah, though really, I was going to bring this up with you because I think it's so funny. I had one typing session and I'm not aware of Enneagram at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually typed in psychosophy, which I thought was really an interesting
Uh-huh.
system. Do you know what psychosophy is? The
No, I don't.
system?
No.
There's a guy that does it that's in America now. It's called attitudinal psych, but he's taking the Russian system, and that's
Mm-hmm.
a little bit closer to here, so people
So
know
you're
the
talking about
system a little
systems
bit
again
more.
here. So you're talking about
But
systems again, that's systematic. But what is it?
but it's a typing system also, but it types your responses to things rather than
Mm-hmm.
like kind of personality structures. It's like how you're responding. So
Mm-hmm.
like they take like the four dimensions of life. Like one is volition,
Mm-hmm.
one is emotions, one is physics, and one is I forget the fourth one, emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But you type me, for example, as somebody with first will and somebody who was like ignoring their emotions,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally neglectful, I guess. So
Mm-hmm.
it's an interesting system. Maybe you would find it interesting. But it's really funny because he did the Enneagram at the end, and I'm not aware of the Enneagram at all. I haven't read anything about it really at all.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me in the interview and he was like, maybe you're asexual. And he just
Yeah,
said this, and I was
you
just
are.
like, could
You're a
be.
sexual 6.
And then at the end, he said, like, oh no, you're not sexual at all. Like
Really?
this.
I thought you float between SO and XX, Enneagram
Okay.
6.
Yeah.
Because you talked about being brave. So that's kind of like there's like the phobic 6, which is kind of like has a flight energy in them. Then there's like the social one that's kind of like in the middle. And then there's
Hmm.
the counter phobic 6 that's like uses like it's kind of like brave and doesn't really care. And it could come off like an 8 almost a lot of times. And you strike me as someone who probably, because everyone kind of like goes through like, I see people like they kind of like flirt between one of the two. Like they go between, like, for me, I'm a sexual 8, but then I also flirt between self-preserving as well. So I kind of go back and forth. And I kind of see the same with you. It's probably sexual SO. So you either one of those, like you flirt between both of those. Um,
Okay, it's possible. Yeah, I need to learn more about it. I don't really know very
that's why
much.
like they usually will like they'll say XXSP, because you got like they like you rank them. and the top two generally go together. Like you'll see people.
This person, he had a system, and he said, I see these three that the Enneagram have, but he has an extra one as well. He has like one he calls existential, which is like people that are super concerned with existential things like purpose and meaning and kind of woo-woo stuff. And he was like,
Oh,
you definitely have that instinct, like that's there. So I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. Enneagram has been it's I think it's a better overall um mechanic for self-development. I think with type you don't really get much self-development, or like people like kind of use it to limit themselves. But as in
Yeah.
like Enneagram overall, like is meant for you to do self-development. I mean, I know type is supposed to, but people don't use it that way. And it's easy to say, well, I got this function, so I can't do this, or I got this function, so I can't do that. And you'll see that in a lot of the community. Oh, I did this wrong. Oh, it must be SE trickster, or I did this wrong, SE inferior. So you'll see that a lot with people. I like me personally, I like Enneagram. Sometimes when I read the Enneagram stuff, I was like, holy shit, like I wasn't even aware that like that happened to me in my childhood. And I look back on it, it's like, wow, that really did happen to me. Um,
So it's looking at childhood things like as the
it
cause
does,
for.
it does like a lot of it is childhood. Like like we kind of like choose a role from like our childhood based off like kind of things that was going around. Um, So like someone like an eight felt weak, and then they're like, I'm never gonna be weak again, and they close off on every like all those emotions and stuff like that, and focus on being strong. So that pretty much happened in my childhood. But everybody has different things, and it talks about it. If you pick up this book, I like hers. She follows Narangio, Beatrice Chestnut, the 27 complete enneagram. So like each enneagram has 3 subsets, and it's pretty interesting. It's a lot, but you're a smart person. You read a lot, so you're not intj, so you should be able to decipher all the information pretty easily.
Do you give like any advice to like INTJ women? Like, do you have specific
I
INTJ
think
woman
you're
advice?
fucking balling. I mean, what can I really say? I mean, you're doing MMA. You travel to different countries. You know 4 languages. Like, I mean, I can't really tell you anything. I mean, you were as an actress. You're going to neuroscience. I mean, you seem to be balling. I mean, the only thing I could say is, I mean, I think NTJs really struggle with family. Um,
Yes.
they really
This is
struggle
this
with
is my
family.
big worry right now. Yeah. Like I've had
Um,
people tell me they're like, you should never be a mother, and that's like, oh my gosh. Like, what do I do with that? In my mind, it's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's like for us, success is easy, but the hardest thing for us is family. Like, how are we going to make sure like we're not too mean or too cold to the kids, and that they feel loved, and they actually want to visit us when they're adults. That's pretty. I remember my brother when I was a kid, he told me my kids can grow up to hate me, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's like it's pretty sad. Um, but
I've had real trouble with the like with men as well though, because like I think I make the impression that I'm quite gentle and shy at first. And then like they realize they can't tell me what to do. And it's like I'm like, oh, can I fix this? Like can I become affiliated for you? Like I would like to be, like have like a persona, but it's
yeah,
not good to do
the
that. So
mask.
you have to be, yeah,
You have to be who you
who
have to
you are.
be.
You can't do anything
It's
else.
very
Yeah.
isolating. It's very isolating. I always felt as though I can't naturally be myself with people. I have to like dial it back or change it or something. It's quite annoying because I can't just like blast people. I can't just tell people how it is, or you can't really do any of that shit, and it annoys me. So you got to like play their fucking game, which annoys me more than anything. And I mean, people are just so sensitive. You say the one thing wrong and they take it this way, or like people exhaust the shit out of me. I think most NTs are gonna feel that way in general, but the NTJs have low FE, so it's very hard to connect with people.
hmm
And
Yeah,
then
that's what I was hoping the advice would be like how to be FE. Like how do you do it when you're not that? But
I mean, I can't really help
Good luck.
you with I can't really help you with that because I'm working on it myself.
All right.
I mean, I think it's a journey for everybody, for all NTJs. Like, I mean, read communication books. I've been reading them. It always feels as though it never works for me. I probably read like 20 books on communication, and I'm like, okay, we get a little bit better here and there, but overall, it's just like I'm not good at reading people's emotions. I'm just flat out not good at reading people's emotions. And if you get me in the moment and I got to read somebody's emotions, it's gonna go left every time.
I feel like I'm actually decent at this. I don't know why. Like if there's something in the personality that's different between the I and the E there. But I think that counseling, I can kind of make up
Oh
for
yeah,
the
you did
lack
do
of
you did do
things
that.
somehow. Like
Mhm.
but maybe with sincerity, something like this, like when I tell people I care about them, I think that they know that I do.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I think maybe your counseling helped you, but it's like, oh my God, if I have to read someone's emotions or something, I'm just not. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just not like.
Just gonna stop.
I'm gonna try to go around it any way I can. Um, but that's the best thing. The best advice I would always say is to work on your family. Another thing is like as an NTJ, we are set to go after what we want. And a lot of times you don't enjoy the moment. So
Hmm.
enjoy the moment because you really people say all this other shit, but you really only get one life. There's no redos, no restarts, no none of that. So do enjoy your life and live a life where when you die, you can smile about. That's all I can say. And another
Yeah.
thing would be, you know, a lot of times we tend to get too wrapped up in our work and think we're so important to our job. But sorry to break it to all people, they replace the president every 4 years. They replace your ass if you died. Okay, the only person
Yeah.
that's gonna remember um, what you didn't do or how important you really is your family. They're
Yeah,
gonna
sure.
remember that. So take the time to connect with your family. That's it.
Yeah. All
But you
right.
seem to be balling out, so I can't really say much.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's nice to hear. Yeah.
Any other questions you got?
No, but I think I'll do some reading about the things. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So yeah, thank you.
INTJ. Thank you. It was a
All
pleasure.
right. Sorry you got another one. I know this is a problem for you. Like too many.
No, it was cool. Thank you. You have a great day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.